17 years. Mine was slightly, was less than that. I don't know what yours is. But what I'm bringing here is whatever it is that you're going through, do not take it for granted. Just know that God has a plan for it. We have also another one called Joseph. He was a favorite son of Jacob. But let's look at the places that he went through before he became prime minister. He had to go through the pit. He had to go through slavery. He had to earn his upkeep. He had to work in Potiphar's house, and he worked there, I think, for 11 years. He hadn't done anything wrong. It was just the jealous of his brothers that took him to that country. He was accused. He had false accusations. He went to prison. He was forgotten by the baker. Remember, he told the baker his dream and told him, when you go, please remember me. He didn't remember him. For 2 years, he remained in prison. What was going on in his mind at that time when he was in prison? If you are the one, what did you do? You have been forgotten. What did you do when you have been forgotten like that? But the Bible tells us that despite all these places that Joseph went through, that the Lord was still with Joseph, because he succeeded in everything that he did. He worked hard, demonstrating the gift of administration. Potiphar also saw something in Joseph, and he gave him a job to do. He allowed him to do everything in his in Egypt. If Joseph had not gone through all those bad things that he went through, he would never have tapped into the gift, and consequently, he would never have saved his family. Now, the interesting thing about David and Joseph is that Joseph was in slavery for 13 years. David was in the wilderness for 15 years. Joseph was 30 years when he was made the prime minister. He was sold when he was 17 years. He was in prison for 2 years. Now, what was going on in Joseph's mind for the 13 years? The same question that you can ask of David. What was going on in his mind? What did they do in those hard times? They worked hard. Joseph worked hard. David worked hard. What would you do in your wilderness days or in your COVID-19 time? If you've been affected by job losses, if you've been affected by a loss of relationship, what have you done with it? Let's look at the ages that these two young people got their dreams. David was 30 years when he was enthroned as king. Joseph was 30 years when he was made prime minister in Egypt. Jesus was 30 years when he started his ministry. Ezekiel was called by God as a prophet when he was 30 years. John the Baptist was 30 years when he came out of the wilderness. You people are within this age bracket of 25 to 30 years. You are at an age when God can use you mightily in leadership, in responsibilities, if only you can allow him to do that. I said that Ruth had the option of not following her mother-in-law. David had the option of deciding, this God is not helping me. But Joseph and David, we can see that they believed in God, they trusted God and lived for God for the time that they went through some hard times. So what is your precedented circumstance right now? What is that thing that is making you worried? So no matter what life throws at you, you have a choice to bounce back. You can make the choice to get up every time you are knocked down. You can make the choice to keep trying for as long as you have breath in you. When we focus only on the results, because remember Joseph, he had been told that from the dream he knew was going to be a leader. So if he had focused only on that, then he would have missed the process. So let's not miss the process. Let's follow through the process that God allows us to go through at any given time, because he has a reason. Maybe at this point I can give you another thing that happened in my life as I continue, because I hear there are other people who are working. One of my jobs, I'd been on maternity leave. I just gotten my baby. I was coming back from work, very excited. And I go to work, I'm still trying to settle down. Then I'm told I'm being called in HR. So you think, oh, now you've just come in, so there must be something that HR are calling you for. So I go to HR just to set things up for some of you that have never experienced this. You go to HR and you find two people sitting in the office. One sitting on one table, on that side of the table, another one sitting on this other side of the table. And then you're in the middle of all this, between the two people. And in between them, there's an envelope in the middle. Of course, because you've not even prepared, you don't know what this envelope is all about. Let me tell you, the envelope was a nice way of telling you now you can go home. Now, this envelope, I was given the letter. Remember that there's one there and there's one on this side. I'm given this letter and told, your job is no longer required. You have two options. You can take a package, some good money, or look for another job within the organization. Okay? When your employer tells you to look for another job within the organization, it's just a polite way of telling you are fired. It's just that they wanted to be nice. And as a Christian, what do you do? When you have these two people facing you, what do you do? Do you break down and cry? I smiled and looked at them. Then they said, do you understand? Did you read? I said, yes. Do you understand what the letter is saying? I said, yes. What is it saying? It's very clear. It's telling me I need to, I have two options. Okay. So which option are you taking? Can you sign? I told them, no, I can't sign now. I need time to, this is my life. I can't just sign a letter and go. I need time. And that time I'm just smiling. Remember, when you are attacked, you don't show them what you're feeling. So I told them I need time. And then after, I went back to my desk. I took my laptop. I had a laptop and a desktop. I took the laptop, I took it to IT. IT didn't know. They were not aware that I had been fired. So I took it to IT. I told IT, can you transfer everything from this computer to somewhere, and then I'll come for it. Then I walked back to my desk, continued, and then went home. Remember, I had a baby, so I leave early. Then we agreed, after 2 weeks, of course, they kept asking me, so what are you deciding? I said, no, give me time. That time, of course, I had to consult with my husband and agree what you're going to do. By the way, that same day when I called my husband was in Kericho. He had gone to do some work. He tells me, don't worry, your job is in the paper today. That's on a Monday. I still remember the date very well, 5th of March. Tells me your job is in the paper today, and I'm wondering. And what I did, I couldn't even call him using my phone because I knew they would be tracking me to see who I'm talking to. So I went to a phone booth, called them, and I didn't call him because I knew they knew him, so they would be tapping his phone. I called a friend that they were working together. So I told him, no, don't worry, your job is in the paper. Anyway, I left. Later I told them I was leaving. but under the following conditions. So I negotiated for the package to be increased. The package was increased, and I served my notice for 1 month. In that 1 month, the job that my husband had said was in the paper, I was invited for an interview. I went, I did 2 interviews, and after the interviews, my 1 month ended, so I went back. I went home, and for 17 months, I stayed at home. I took care of my son. Remember, I said that I had just gotten a baby. So I took care of my son. And as I took care of my son, what else did I do? After some time, I realized I needed to do something else. So I decided, I enrolled for a course. This time I already had my master's. I enrolled for a diploma course in town for tourism. And as we speak, we already set up a tour company, and it's helping. It's been a source of income. Now, after 17 months, the job that I had applied for, they called me for that job. The time I applied, after the 2 interviews, they didn't take anybody. The following year, that same year, they advertised again. People were called, they were interviewed, but they didn't take anybody. Then finally, what did they do? They just they got an agency and told the agency to headhunt. So it's the agency that called me and asked me if I was interested in that job. When I listened, they just said there's a job from a bank. And when I listened, I realized that is the job that I had done the interview. Then they asked me, are you interested? I said yes. And to cut a long story short, yes, after that, I went to the bank and I worked. What am I bringing? What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you there are times that things will happen to your life, but it's how you react, how you respond to those situations that will determine what the end result will be. I didn't waste my time. I didn't cry over it, but I knew God was there. I remember telling God, God, you knew when they were making all these decisions. And I continued trusting him. I became busy. I enrolled in this course. So when you are in some of those dry moments, always look for something to do. I need to finish. I can see the time is gone. So when you find yourself in unprecedented times, what do? How do you react? Are you angry? Are you disappointed? Do you run? Do you rave? Do you feel dejected? Whatever your initial reaction is, the challenge is the challenge is to turn a negative experience to a productive one. That is counter unprecedented circumstance with resilience. Be willing to get back. Psychological resilience is the capacity to respond quickly and constructively. So whatever comes your way, look for ways of getting back constructively. Most of us will use our guts when something happened and we feel maybe deflated, we feel helpless, we feel like helpless bystanders, but it's the way that you react that is important. So the reaction then, it's the ability to bounce back from unprecedented circumstances that would be very important. And what you do is uncovering and untangling the beliefs that you have, shifting on how you respond. When we experience difficult episodes, some of the things that we say is that it was inevitable, it was a function of forces beyond our control. And what are these forces that we talk about? We might be saying it's the devil, we have been bewitched, all those negative things. But we need to shift from this kind of reflexive thinking to active thinking on how best to respond. And we ask ourselves many questions that we are able to answer. So some of the strategies that we need to adapt for bouncing back is to accept that your life has not ended. It has just taken unprecedented direction. Be willing to give support and receive support. Let other people know that time when I lost my job, of course, I didn't want to say I had lost my job. I remember suddenly I went to some meetings and I was told with some ladies and they were saying, oh, then I said I lost my job and said, oh, so sorry. I said, no, it's okay, it's okay. He said, no, it's not okay. So it's not, let's accept it has happened. It's not okay. You say it's not okay. So be willing to support. And when you hear somebody has lost a job, be willing to support them, talk to them. Some people, losing a job is like death. So you need to be compassionate and help them. When you're in that situation, take time also to focus on what you can control. Because there are things that you can't control. There are things you can do. So when you are there, look for something else that you can do. I know the hardest one is to tell you, take a few moments and thank God for it. Of course, when I was there, I don't think it was very easy to say, thank God that you have lost your job, or thank God that you didn't pass this exam. But the word of God still remains true, that all things work for good. If I was to tell you all the things that I've gone through, this Romans 8 is still very true. So you accept, be willing to support and give support, take time to regularly focus on what you can control, then embrace change. The Bible tells us that that we'll experience difficult times, but be willing to embrace change. And then you establish also realistic goals. What are your goals? Figure out what you can do, define realistic goals for yourself, and then get to work. Don't wallow in bitterness, in sorrow, or call people to come and mourn with you. No. Wake up, be willing to move on. Life has to move on. That was just a hurdle. And remember, God was there when this thing was happening. Practice what you call self-care. In this time of COVID, what are you doing? Are you practicing anything? Are you doing something new? If you're not doing, take care of yourself. Don't stay at home watching Netflix the whole day. Wake up, do a run in the morning, exercise, do something for yourself. In conclusion, when we give ourselves permission to fail, we at the same time give ourselves permission to excel. When I failed, it was time to say, yes, I have failed. And therefore, this is where I am, this is the situation. So then what is the next thing? Give yourself permission to excel by looking at other ways of moving on. You can't dwell there indefinitely. And as I had said in the short clip that I had shared, that the three things that we must keep doing in these hard times. When we look at the life of Naomi, after all that she had gone through, she had lost her husband, she had lost these two sons. It looked like she didn't have any future. But she radiated some affection. She still loved the people around her. She still loved her two daughters-in-law. She told them, you remain here, you might get other husbands here. But Ruth went along with her. We see her being with Ruth. We see after the story, after Ruth gets the baby, we see her taking care of the baby. So radiate affection. It doesn't matter what has happened to you. Just love other people around you. Radiate some love around you. Joseph dreamt. You people, if you've never started dreaming, please start dreaming. And those that are dreaming, please dream again and dream more. And when you talk about dreams, you are not dreaming the normal things. Dream big dreams, make big dreams, write them down and dream them, actualize them. God will see you through. As David sang, the Bible says that David was wrote the most books, the most psalms, the most songs in the Bible. Remember, David's singing took him to the palace where he was supposed to go. It may have taken many years, but he still got there. So learn to sing. If you can't sing, still sing. How can we measure your success? How can we tell whether you have succeeded or not? Success is not based on whether you actually make it to the desired goal. If my goal was to go to university at that particular time and I didn't go, that's not really success. Success is measured by the obedience to God and perseverance. So if you obey God, He takes you through a certain process. Whatever it is that you have ahead, He will still make it happen. As I finish, I challenge you to choose then a life of faith that trusts God with the outcome, in the same way that Naomi, David, and Joseph did when they left everything in the hands of God. That is the challenge that I give you. May God bless you, and thank you for sitting in. Matthew, you are muted.
Sorry for that. Sorry, I didn't realize. Thank you very much, Dr. Doreen. Wow. Yeah, we can come back again. And thank you for making it, for showing us this both from the scriptures and also from the strategic point of view I mean, and giving us examples of, companies we are very much aware of. I work with a colleague of mine who left just around the time Chase Bank was, getting on its knees. And, watching that bank again come back to life in a rejuvenated way, in a new name. I mean, who can imagine that? You guys were still here just 4 years ago, and everybody in social media, there was a lot of craze, and everybody ran into the bank and, was about picking their money. And all of us, we knew is that the gone story is the end of it, and that's it. But the bank is back. Can you imagine? And I liked what you said, that the bank is not a living entity. It did not drive itself back to life. People did. And therefore, there are people who sat down, strategized, and brought it back to life. And KCB, the story of KCB, is new to me. I didn't know it. Thank you very much. And I think the biblical stories you've given us, I think, to me, I've looked at it from a different perspective. And the 30. What is it in the 30? So God bless you so much. I want to edit there. And thank you very much. It's always a pleasure having you. Have a blessed night.